When I was a third-year medical student, I was examining a patient who was suffering from pneumonia complications. His name was Monir, and he was being taken care of by his mother, a very old lady, perhaps in her 70s. After I was done examining him and I was about to leave, the mother stopped me and asked, "How long till my son gets better?" I reassured her, saying that the doctors had already diagnosed the condition, and as soon as Monir gets the medicine, he will get better. The mother then showed me all the injections and medicines she had bought for Monir. She had already spent all her money in doing the tests and buying the medicines. All she had left with her then was enough for the two of them to get back home. She asked me again, "Can you not do anything to make Monir recover faster?" I had no answer. But I calculated. Monir needed around 10,000 taka to get better. So I went up to my teacher and asked ways of how we could help Monir. My teacher then told me, "Well, you could raise money for Monir, but there are so many poor patients in the hospital. How many would you be able to help, Jara?" When I did go back to the hospital the next day, I couldn't find Monir and his mother. They had left, against the doctor's advice, possibly because they had run out of money. I felt guilty for not having done anything. As I stand here today, I don't know if Monir has survived. There are parts of life where justice seems to have no meaning. You're born in a poor family, you hardly find any opportunity to get out of the poverty, and then out of the blue, you get a life-threatening condition without any fault of your own. And you can't help asking, why me? As I kept working more in the hospital, I found that this was not an isolated event, rather a very regular occurrence. Every day, people left the hospital before completing their treatment because they ran out of money. I kept talking to more people about the problem, and finally I formed a team with Ima, Shaimul, and Ishaya. They're here, two of them are here today. We sat down and brainstormed about this problem. We came out with the conviction that our society does not lack resources so much that a person has to die of simple curable disease just because he cannot afford as little as 10,000 taka. If we could give people a trustworthy and reliable channel of distribution of resources, people could actually come forward to address this problem. So the four of us then built the country's first healthcare crowdfunding platform called Aruggo. BYLC showed us a lot of faith and gave us a funding of $10,000. In our first year, we helped fund life-saving care for over 100 patients. To make Aruggo reliable and trustworthy, we used a blend of innovation, technology, and transparency. I'll talk about innovation first because crowdfunding is not new. It has been around since a long time. Historically, people have intuitively resorted to crowdfunding to finance healthcare. I'm sure you've met people who've asked you for money to fund treatment of their loved ones in buses, in trains, and in public places. Some show you printed leaflets, some show you their limping leg. But most people have grown disinterested in responding to these pleas. If Monir's mother came and told me her story inside a bus, would I believe it? So we found out two reasons why people have grown skeptical. One, we cannot really know whether the person claiming to be sick is actually so. And two, we do not know if the money will be used for treatment. Someone can show me the limping leg, but how do I know he will use my money to treat the limping leg, and this is not just his regular way of earning money every day? To make Aruggo reliable, we built a network of doctors across Dhaka Medical College and Hospital who would let us know when they find a patient in need of financial help. So everyone on our list has been verified by a medical doctor to be actual patients. And then our team of Arogo associates goes in, meets the patients and their families, and assesses their financial status. Only after a person goes through this two-step verification process by doctors and by our team do we start to raise money for a patient. To make Arogo trustworthy, we use technology to make our services transparent. In traditional crowdfunding practices, it's very difficult to track your donation, how it was used, where it was used, and whether it was used at all. But in case of Arogo, one can simply go to the website and find out how the donation was used. We also send patient updates to our donors, detailing the impact their money made on a person's life. Arogo did more for us than facilitating access to resources. It taught us to be hopeful of our society. When we were starting out, we had many people expressing doubts whether people would actually donate money. But as we kept going, we saw that the donations exceeded patient demands, and we had to increase our institutional capacity to verify more patients in a shorter amount of time to channel the donations their way. We found that people were actually quite generous if they knew that their money was going to be used the way they intended for it to be used. On the surface, Arogo might look like a transaction of money between two parties, but it is so much more than that. It is an exchange of love between complete strangers. It is a show of faith. It is the incredible power of community. It is when a person falls sick and is helpless and is without money, someone from oceans apart who has never even seen that person coming in and saying, "You're not alone in this. We've got it." I don't know what happened to Monir, but I do know what happened to a 14-year-old girl called Ria. She was suffering from a lump in her throat that made it incredibly difficult for her to talk and eat. She had lost her father a month ago, and her family had spent it all trying to save her father and had nothing to spare for Ria's treatment. But thanks to our kind and generous donors, Ria can now talk and smile without pain. I used crowdfunding to address a problem that I felt deeply concerned about, that I faced day in and day out. I'm sure you too have problems that keep you up at night and that you want to work on. Trust me, resources are not a barrier if you have the will. I invite you today to innovate, to leverage technology, and to use the incredible power of community to build a better Bangladesh together. Thank you.